Travis Blackshear was an impact player as a wide receiver running back for Benedictine last year as the Cadets rolled to their second state championship and a 150 season. Now a senior, Blackshear has emerged as one of the most versatile offensive weapons in the state of Georgia. Last week, Blackshear rushed for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns on 18 carries and had a pair of catches for 36 yards in a 450 win at Metter. Blackshear earned Savannah Morning News High School Football Player of the Week honors for his performance. He eclipsed the 1,000-yard rushing mark for the season in the Metter game. Blackshear has rushed for 1,105 yards and 12 touchdowns and has 23 catches for 469 yards and 6 more scores. He also has a pair of interceptions as nickelback on defense for the Cadets, who are 90 with 24 consecutive victories. Travis can do so many things and he's a very athletic player, Benedictine coach Danny Britt said. Last year, he was starting at split end and really developed as an outside receiver. He became a great blocker downfield and also got to run the ball. He's not big, but he runs strong and is very tough for his size. Once he commits and puts his foot in the ground, he's as good as anyone I have coached. He has the speed, vision and strength to finish off his runs. Then 5'10", 170-pound Blackshear has offers from Navy, Stetson, Concord, Lincoln and Reinhardt. I was already playing wide receiver and running back last season, so I had a good mindset coming into the season with that, Blackshear said. But I had to step up and become more of a leader this year. I think I've improved in receiving with my route running and by being much more physical when I'm running the ball. Other top performances: Javonte Middleton Jenkins the senior was 12 of 19 passing for 154 yards and rushed for 107 yards and 2 scores in a win over Windsor Forest. Adam Bick Savannah Country Day the senior rushed for 254 yards and 3 scores in a win over McIntosh County Academy. Chris Coleman Liberty County the junior had 110 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns and also caught a 63 yards scoring pass in a win over Brantley County. Thomas Carver Calvary Day the sophomore was 7 of 12 passing for 134 yards and 2 scores in a win over Savannah Christian. Demario Gant Effingham County the senior had 6 catches for 121 yards, including an 80-yard touchdown catch from Jared Stokes, and had a 73-yard scoring run in a win over Bradwell Institute. Delvecchio Powell Memorial Day the junior rushed for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns and had a 60-yard scoring catch in a playoff win over Westwood. Jacob Boyd St. Andrews the senior rushed for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns in a win over Bethesda Academy. Grant Thomas Calvary had 6 catches for 123 yards and 2 scores in the win over Savannah Christian. Tyrone Gadsden Groves the senior threw for 179 yards and 2 scores and rushed for 30 yards and a touchdown in a win over Johnson. Korth Nelson Bradwell rushed for 148 yards in a loss to Effingham County. Tarek Smalls Benedictine the senior rushed for 146 yards and a score in the Cadets' win over Metter. Brian Meyer South Effingham had 9 receptions for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns in a win over Statesboro. Jalen Leary Calvary Day the junior rushed for 152 yards and 2 scores in the victory over Savannah Christian. Winston Wright Memorial Day the junior had 4 catches for 75 yards and a score and returned an interception for a touchdown in the win over Westwood. Andrew Longwater St. Andrews rushed for 168 yards in a win over Bethesda. Malik Nesbitt Savannah High the senior rushed for 143 yards and 2 scores and had 3 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown in a win over Islands. Earl Hamilton Johnson the senior rushed for a season-high 183 yards and 3 touchdowns in a loss to Groves. Amin Stevens Jenkins the senior rushed for 165 yards and 3 scores in the win over Windsor Forest. Maurice Smith Richmond Hill the senior rushed for 162 yards and 4 scores in a loss to Brunswick. Jonathan Palmer Savannah Country Day the senior had 12 tackles, rushed for a touchdown and completed a pass in a win over MCA. Josh Washington Liberty County had a pair of tackles, caused a fumble and returned a fumble for a score in a win over Brantley County. Rico Powers Benedictine the sophomore rushed for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns on 8 carries in the win over Metter. Eric Davidson Savannah Christian had 9 tackles and rushed for 54 yards in a loss to Calvary Day. Taylor Jackson South Effingham the sophomore was 16 of 24 passing for 206 yards and 3 scores in the win over Statesboro. Jordan Stafford Jenkins had a pair of interceptions in the win over Windsor Forest. Teron Dixon, Bryan County had 103 yards rushing in a loss to Bacon County.